There are few things that can get sports fans more fired up than a great MVP debate. The question of who is the most valuable is a subjective one, which means just being the best doesn't guarantee a victory. The best team doesn't always win the World Series, and the best player doesn't always win the MVP. The most memorable of these decisions are typically the ones decided by the narrowest of margins. They linger in the minds of fans long after the ballots have been tallied and continue to gain new life as the consensus opinions change over time. We'll explore those as we take a look back at some of the closest MVP races since the adoption of the modern voting system in 1938. We start off immediately with one of the most controversial selections of all time, the 1996 AL MVP. That year, Texas Rangers slugger Juan Gonzalez edged out a 21-year-old named Alex Rodriguez by a margin of just 3 votes.
Watch out, Alex!
Alex, someone's sneaking up on you.
Now, Juan Gonzalez was a tremendous hitter, and 1996 was one of the best seasons of his career, but it's a massive upset by modern standards. In fact, you can make an argument that despite hitting 47 homers and driving in 144 runs, Gonzalez didn't even have one of the 5 best seasons in the American League that year. His WAR of 3.8 that season was tied for 30th in the American League amongst position players. A-Rod finished second with a 9.4 and also led the AL with a 358 batting average.
The ball game is over, and Rodriguez is the hero.
Above him, only Ken Griffey Jr. with a 9.7 WAR and 49 homers and 140 runs batted in only 140 games. Gonzalez was a poor defender, and he only played a little over 100 games in the outfield in 1996, while the 2 Mariners stars were amongst the game's elite gloves.
What a play by Ken Griffey Jr.
But Gonzalez had something they didn't, a postseason spot.
And the Rangers have won the American League Western Division.
And in that era, and many other eras, being the best hitter on a first-place team was pretty much a requirement for the trophy. Juan's Rangers won the AL West by 4.5 games. And while A-Rod's incredible year made it an extremely close race, the voters ultimately went with the postseason-bound Gonzalez. There's another season with an MVP race decided by just 3 points, the 1960 American League MVP race between Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle.
Roger Maris left and Mickey Mantle were murder and mayhem for the Yankees.
The Yankees acquired the 25-year-old Maris before the 1960 season in one of their many deals with the Kansas City A's.
Feels real good, I'd say. After playing on, a couple of second division ball clubs for the last 3 years, it feels real good.
And while they knew they were getting a talented player, Maris exceeded all expectations. He and Mantle formed one of the most formidable 1-2 punches in baseball history, leading the Yanks to an MLB Best 97 wins and cementing themselves as the top dogs in the MVP race.
Teammate Roger Maris has clubbed enough homers to fill a tub. The added pressure doesn't seem to faze either Maris or Mantle.
Maris finished second in the American League with 39 home runs, but led the way in RBIs, slugging percentage, and WAR.
Maris hit tape measure home runs along with Skowron and Mantle. He led the league in the all-important RBI department,
while his teammate Mantle bested him with 40 homers and paced the league in runs and OPS. You really couldn't go wrong with either of them, and there are great arguments to be made for both. In the end, Maris's true breakout season won over the voters, and despite finishing behind Mantle in first-place votes, he took home the hardware with 225 points to Mickey's 222. Up next, 2 of baseball's biggest 21st century stars took center stage in the 2017 National League MVP race, as Giancarlo Stanton defeated Joey Votto by just 2 points.
2017 National League Most Valuable Player, Giancarlo Stanton.
The 2017 race is unique not only for its margin of victory, but also for the fact that the top 2 vote-getters both played for teams that finished at least 20 games out of first place. Long gone are the days where a postseason berth was pretty much a prerequisite for award winners. Instead, we have a true race between the league's 2 best players.
Giancarlo just keeps on crushing!
And let's congratulate Joey Votto now. That base hit is 1,500th hit.
The final decision will ultimately come down to a preference in style. Do you side with Stanton's power or Votto's contact and discipline?
20 consecutive games he's been on at least 2 times.
That ties Barry Bonds, 1 shy of the Major League record. Ted Williams.
Both players finish with incredible seasons, taking wildly different paths to get there. Stanton leads the league with a whopping 59 home runs, 132 RBIs, an 8.1 WAR, and a .631 slugging. Votto plays all 162 games, hits .320, and leads the National League in walks and OPS, thanks to a ridiculous .454 on-base percentage. Once the votes are counted, Stanton's generational power proves to be the deciding factor, and the slugger wins by just one additional second and third place vote. What can you say? We dig the long ball. Out of all the MVP races eligible for this list, only two have been decided by just a single point: the National League in 1944 and the American League in 1947. The effects of World War II on the national pastime have been profound. Many of the game's great players traded their baseball uniforms for military uniforms, sacrificing their athletic primes to serve their country. The gap they left thinned out awards competition, causing voters to find new meaning in the term most valuable. The 1944 race perhaps best reflects this, as Marty Marion wins the MVP thanks to his defense and leadership for the World Series champion Cardinals. At the time, the 27-year-old Marion was already considered to be one of the greatest defensive shortstops in baseball history, but he was consistently a below-average hitter. Marion finished the season with an OPS of just .686, the lowest by any position player to ever win an MVP. The next three highest vote getters that season, Bill Nicholson, Dixie Walker, and Stan Musial, all finished with OPSs above .930. Nicholson, who lost by 1 point, led MLB with 33 homers and 122 RBIs, numbers that would have almost certainly won him the MVP if he had played for a first-place team. That was still really important to voters at the time, and Nicholson's Cubs finished in 4th place with a record under 500. Even the 1943 NL MVP, Stan Musial, who literally doubled Marion's WAR total while also leading the NL in OPS, couldn't even crack the top 3, which is shocking considering he was also a member of the World Series champion Cardinals. It's truly one of the most puzzling choices in MLB history, but when it comes to this one, I think he just had to be there. The 1947 AL MVP race, also decided by a single point, featured two of baseball's most famous wartime stars.
And here are the two superstars who cannot be matched in the game of baseball today: Ted Williams and Joe DiMaggio.
Williams versus DiMaggio was one of the great rivalries of the late 30s and early 40s, with the two frequently going head-to-head both on the field and in the ballot box. DiMaggio bested Williams for MVP in 1939 and 1941, but after both players lost 3 years to the war, it was Williams who took home MVP honors in 1946, while DiMaggio struggled to match his pre-war prowess. On paper, it looks like more of the same in 1947. Williams won the Triple Crown and led the league in walks, WAR, and OPS, while DiMaggio posted the lowest WAR total of his career to that point and failed to lead the league in any category. But the 1947 Yankees took home the World Series crown, while the 1947 Red Sox finished in 3rd place. With a final tally of 202 points to 201, Joltin' Joe took home his 3rd MVP and gave us one of the great MVP debates in the process.
But when I get my raise this year, I'll have a lot more spaghetti.
And finally, a race so close that they couldn't settle on just one winner, the famous 1979 co-MVP race between Willie Stargell and Keith Hernandez. It's the only time in MLB history that two players have ever tied for an MVP. Every other year, despite significant differences in opinions amongst the writers, one player manages to rise above. Every year but 1979. On one end of the votes is 25-year-old Keith Hernandez, one of the greatest defenders in baseball history.
What a play, Hernandez! Oh, baby!
Who leads the National League with a .344 batting average, 48 doubles, and 116 runs for the St. Louis Cardinals. He posts a respectable 7.6 WAR, good for 4th best in the league, and takes home his 2nd consecutive Gold Glove award. On the other end is 39-year-old Willie Stargell, who has found new life in the twilight of his career.
He can hit it out anywhere. So the great man comes through and gives the Bucs an early lead.
He hits 32 homers and drives in 82 runs across 126 games. finishing the season with an OPS over 900, but a WAR total of just 2.5. For a 39-year-old, it's a terrific season, but it's arguably not even the best season on the 1979 Pirates. But can you guess what those 1979 Pirates did? That's right, they won the World Series.
And for Willie Stargell, another MVP award, this time for the World Series.
And Willie was the heart and soul of that group, one of the most memorable groups in baseball history. Hernandez's Cardinals, well, they finished in third place. When the dust settled, both players had totaled exactly 216 points, but reached those scores in completely different ways. Stargell led the way with 10 first-place votes to Hernandez's 4, but was also left off of 4 ballots entirely. Meanwhile, Hernandez was the only player included on every writer's ballot. The duality of their seasons proves to be the ultimate example of how the vote changes depending on the voters' definitions of value at the time. Hernandez's impressive all-around season would have won over the statistical voters, while Stargell's legendary leadership on the eventual champs would have captivated the more emotional voters. Looking back, the 1979 season is really defined by the We Are Family Pirates. So it's hard to argue with anyone that helped Willie win his long overdue MVP. And hey, both players did get an MVP in the end, so isn't that a win-win? Thanks for journeying through baseball history with us. Let us know how you would have voted in the comments, and make sure to check out MLB and MLB Vault on YouTube for more content all offseason long.